We have a Mercury retrograde in Gemini happening as of today, and Mercury retrogrades are not all bad, they're not all even that intense. However, they're often misunderstood. So I want to clarify some things around this Mercury retrograde period that is May 10th until June 2nd, 2022, and especially where it's going to be in your chart. I'm going to run through all rising signs to clarify that as well. So firstly, what is a Mercury retrograde? Mercury is a planet in the sky, and it symbolizes being the messenger, communication, getting from point A to point B, either with information, commerce, the transmission of something on a very quick, immediate level. So it's often associated with logic, communication, and travel. Retrogrades are when the planet is in the sky appearing to move backwards. Planets can never actually move backwards, but the way that our orbit lines up with their orbit makes it seem like it sometimes, when the speed changes between the two of us and the distance changes, that it is going backwards. Or not the speed, I'm sorry, just the distance can make it seem like its speed goes backwards. It is impossible, but it appears from our perspective that Mercury is about to go backwards in the sky as I'm filming this the night of May 9th here in Warsaw, where I am. So because of that, it symbolizes reversing our communication, travel, and one-to-one efforts to get from point A to point B. There can be hiccups, delays, misunderstandings, or inversions of our communication, such as cell service drops, flights are delayed, a friend misunderstands you, or you contact an ex, you go back and pick up an old project you started but never finished, you rethink something and go vet it and identify the problem. So again, it is not all bad, it's more of a remix and going back to do things and start things you haven't yet, rather than pushing forward, because there needs to be a vetting process. If anything, Virgo understands this. You have to go back and refine things. So it's inconvenient, especially for Gemini and Virgo placements that are ruled by Mercury. Those of us with Virgo placements, or if you as a Gemini placement person, that is ruled by Mercury. So when Mercury goes retrograde, that means you're feeling it pretty intensely, just like how if you're in Aries, Mars retrograde's bad, like not bad, big for you. If you're a Capricorn rising, Saturn retrogrades are intense for you. So you'll feel the planetary retrograde of whatever planets are rulers heavily in your chart, whether it's ascendant, sun, moon, etc. You'll feel that pretty intensely for that part of your life or your personality, or just how that shows up in your life, like the houses, etc. So Mercury retrogrades are more difficulty, more hiccups, and slowing down to rethink communication or travel efforts mainly. However, it can also be communication within people that can lead to relationships, but it's not like Venus retrograde where it's inherently like you might want to rethink their relationship. It's more like you might want to rethink communicating or reaching out to this person. So the texting your ex thing is very on point for Mercury retrograde. It's not good or bad. It just simply will probably happen to a lot of you who have exes who were not publicly, you had a falling out with on a vlog. Like me, I'm not even going to go there. There's no way that's happening because I door slam and I don't really have like exes I can call up. But for those of you who do, you might be thinking about that. It's not good or bad. It just simply may happen. It might be good for some of you, might be not good for some other one. Again, I don't really use good or bad, but if it's objectively positive or negative, I'll say that, but this one really isn't. However, this Mercury retrograde is helped out a bit because it is in its home sign. When planets are in their home signs, they have capacity to be more comfortable and constructive. So having Mercury in Gemini helps it feel safer and at home with rethinking and going back to change things that you've already done. I also love that Jupiter enters Aries the same day, and the Mercury retrograde will be sextile Jupiter in Aries. Sextiles are aspects of opportunity, and Jupiter is the most positive planet. So having Mercury in its own sign, sextile Jupiter, is really positive and strong for the opportunity to make this constructive. Like how I am going back to visit where like my ancestors are apparently from, like that's from my fucking DNA, and like everyone in my family, like they're just Polish. So I'm here, even though do not ask me if I speak Polish. I don't know fucking anything. I don't know how to say any of these words with like ZGY. Like how do you fucking say it? I don't know. Literally nothing. I'm struggling here to book plane, train, whatever tickets all over the place. So, but I'm like retrograding back. I'm rethinking things, like having to go back and vet some things for my crypto project. I'm interviewing the dev teams that I'm potentially hiring. I'm potentially hiring developers out of Poland, which is kind of full circle. Like I'm founding this company and like I'm coming here to talk to them. So I don't know if they watch my videos, maybe they do. that's how my Mercury retrograde's applying. And it's also going to be retrograde, for example, in my 6th house, which is fitness, coworkers, people that work for me. That is so funny that there's a Mercury retrograde happening in my 6th house of people that work for me mainly. That's what 6th house is like people you hire. You can work around them if you are someone who's like a wagee. I'm just gonna explain that as that. If you're a wagee, it can be people that are waging with you, or if you're someone who owns a company, it's people that you generally hire. I'm rethinking that, not rethinking it as in like hiring someone different, but I'm rethinking the process, and that's why I'm here, is like I want to see these people in person, learn about them, who I might be bringing on as a team. It's also, the 6th house can be health and fitness, and I've like been rethinking how to vary and strengthen my workouts, because I really want to prioritize like functional strength, not just aesthetics, so that I can literally just on a daily basis like feel that, not that I need to, I feel and look great, but I really love the place that I'm at with like made gains and things like that with my body. Like I'm very happy with it. And I also want to keep improving because it's always a work in progress and something that I can refine with muscle groups and things like that. So I might want to change my training a little bit, but it's not overly challenging. It's just simply very acute. I would call it acute because it will be, you know, squaring Neptune and some other things that do bring in an element of like confusion. However, the sextile to Jupiter is really nice. So I do want to say that. So now I'm going to run through the different houses for all the rising signs where this is happening. So if you're a Gemini rising, this is in your 1st house of self. You're rethinking things around your identity, your character, how you communicate out in the world, and who you are. If you are a Taurus rising, this is in your 2nd house of income and finances. You're rethinking maybe an income stream or your spending habits. If you are an Aries rising, this is happening in your 3rd house of day-to-day routine, communication, and possibly neighbors or siblings. You're rethinking how you are doing things on a daily basis with your information, your news intake, or your commute, things like that, or your writing projects, content, stuff like that. If you are a Pisces rising, this is in your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. You could be rethinking where you live, your family matters, or the foundations of your life in a similar way. If you are an Aquarius rising, sorry, I had to take a moment to cough. If you are an Aquarius rising, this is happening in your 5th house of dating, romance, and creativity. So you might actually be the one like reaching out to the ex. I realize now I did a TikTok and I said Libra and I meant to say Aquarius, so I'm about to go take that TikTok down because I meant to say Aquarius and Sag risings, not Libra and Sag risings. TikTok deleted where I'm like Libra risings. I meant to say Aquarius rising. I just got my air signs mixed up because human fucking error. So yeah, Aquarius risings, you might literally be talking to an ex or reaching out to someone who you used to date. It could also be creative projects you're going back to finish because the 5th house is creativity. If you are a Capricorn rising, this is happening in your 6th house, like I mentioned, of day-to-day health routine, things like working out, eating well, could also be coworkers or pets. You're rethinking those things. Then if you are a Sag rising, Sagittarius rising, this is in your 7th house of committed relationships. So you could be reaching out to someone who was previously a committed partner, not just like dating, but was really someone who you were close with, were in a partnership with. You could be rethinking that, or you could be rethinking a contract that you're in. That's also 7th house. If you are a Scorpio rising, you could be going back to rethink taxes, investments, getting finance in a way that's shared. So you could be rethinking your investing journey, your finances, your taxes, not earned income or spending, but more large-scale financial decisions. If you are a what's next, Scorpio, Libra rising, this is in your 9th house of foreign travel and higher education. You could be rethinking your spiritual or philosophical journey. You could also be rethinking where you're traveling or your education plan. If you are a Virgo rising, this is happening in your 10th house of career. Rethinking career, public image, easy. If you are a Leo rising, this is happening in your 11th house of groups, friends, and networking, where you could be rethinking something publicly that you're associated with, how you present yourself to larger groups, or even the people that you hang out with. Now, finally, if you are a Cancer rising, that's what's left. I'm going backwards, so it's taking a minute. Then you are having this in your 12th house of mental health or alone time. So you could be having a kind of mental health reevaluation of what you're going through, or rethinking how you deal with mental health issues. Often Mercury retrogrades are a time where you're like, do I want to do yoga still? Do I want to still go to therapy? Do I need a new prescription if you're on meds or anything like that? So usually it's a rethinking in that way. So obviously I'm getting tired and like delirious. But that's basically Mercury retrograde through the houses. It's a better time to rethink and revise, reach out to old flames or old friends rather than pursue something new, sign a new contract, go on a new trip ideally, even though for those of us who are fucking traveling around the world, no can do, we just have to deal with it. Keep a sense of humor. It will end on June 2nd, and then shadow will continue until middle of June. So like 6 weeks left really of the intention. Maybe 5 weeks. Okay, I'm getting tired. So I'm gonna head out. I hope this is helpful, and I will see you in the next one.